Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima. Over the course of 2026, I'm playing the game Persona 3 Reload. Only I'm trying something a little different. I'm going to match the pace of the game. That's right, I'm playing this game one real day at a time. Please enjoy this different take on the game in a series I'm calling Persona a Day. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here today. Come on in, grab a seat, find something good to eat, something to drink. Let's have some fun today. I am Tom Shima, and I'm going to continue playing Persona 3 Reload in a series I've called Persona a Day, where we play the game one day at a time as it lines up with the real calendar. Today is April 26th, and I look forward to seeing where we can go in game today. For those of you here now, I hope your day is going fantastic, and for those of you watching the archive on YouTube, I hope it's been a great day so far. Like I like to do, let's start looking at what we did yesterday and then move on to see where we can go today. Yesterday was Saturday, April 25th. We started the day in school, and it was a fairly standard school day, nothing especially of note. And afterwards, we decided to keep exploring the town. That was kind of the direction we'd taken the last couple days. We'd explored Tartarus in the middle of the week, and we'd worked on a few social links, but it was kind of more of a bit of social time, really. So after school, we took a look around town just to get the lay of the land, see what people were up to, just check in on some of the sights we'd seen. Just behind the station, we'd found a weak cat before, so we kind of wanted to check in on that and just see how things are going there. There was a sale at the pharmacy, so we decided to check that out. And those different days have different sales, so it was kind of those, okay, it's Saturday, let's check out the sale at the pharmacy. And in relation to said cat, we found that they were selling some fancy cat food at the pharmacy. So we figured, why not? Let's pick up the cat food and see if we can share it with the cat. And we don't have the option to do that right now, but it was a fun thought. It kind of, I like the idea to suggest that and to tie it into the world. So just little things like that don't necessarily line up right now, but things that, maybe it'll turn into something later. We'd also heard at school that there was a bookstore that was going to be opening, doing a grand reopening. They'd been in business before, but they were doing a grand reopening. So that kind of planted that seed in our head about, maybe we should check that out. We also had Yuko, the track team manager, who offered to hang out. So we had some options to choose from, which is always kind of nice. Can be overwhelming at times, I suppose, but it was nice to have the choices. And the way we kind of reasoned it out was, with the bookstore grand reopening, it was kind of more of a special event feeling. It was, you only get one grand reopening day, and I guess unless you have another sometime, but this one was already special and planned in advance, so we decided, nothing against Yuko, but we were going to go to the bookstore and see what we could learn there. And when we got there, we found a nice elderly couple, Bunkichi and Mitsuo. They both just had great personalities. I could totally relate to both of them and people I've dealt with in my own life and had the fun of being around. The elderly gentleman that sometimes you can't even tell if he's teasing you. It's like, does he actually think he's working at a sushi place? Or is that one of those, I've known people that they can say something with a totally straight face and you're not sure to believe them or not. Then you'll just see that hint of a smirk, just on the edge of their mouth, and you'll know that they had you the whole time. They knew what they were saying and they just wanted to see how you'd react, and they got just the reaction they wanted. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Bunkichi. His wife Mitsuo, she's just that sweet little old lady that, seems positive and happy and, apologizes for her husband, and they seem like such a nice couple. So it was kind of cool to meet them. And they'd mentioned, noticing that we were a student at Gekkoukan High, and they'd asked about a persimmon tree, which we weren't specifically knowledgeable about. There were lots of trees on campus, so we didn't have a whole lot to go on there. But then they'd kind of mentioned it was in a courtyard, and that, got the bells ringing because I commented on that courtyard quite a few times. It was just that nice bit of green space between the academic building and the practice field and all that. So we headed back to school, and sure enough, that was a persimmon tree, and we found a persimmon leaf, actually. And so we decided to, take that leaf back and show it to the older couple. And they just thought that was, a really nice thing for us to do, to go check out that tree. Bunkichi mentioned his legs bother him sometimes, so it's harder to get out and see things. So they really appreciated us taking the time to do something that, by all accounts, we didn't really need to do. And I appreciated, them kind of in return, sharing more with me about my surroundings. But in so doing, this bond we formed unlocked the Hierophant social link. So, I get to interact with the elderly couple a bit more now and develop more of a bond with them. It's going to be fun to see what I can learn from them, what sort of fun they can have with me. We continued walking around town a little bit. That was our afternoon, though. We spent some time with that couple at the bookstore. And then we returned to the dorm for the evening and just kind of checked in with everybody there, saw what they were up to. Went back out in the evening to, go to the malls. We were keeping it more of a social day again, so, we decided to see what was out and around. We are still kind of working on our courage. There was a club we found in the evening that's open that we're not quite courageous enough to enter yet, so we were keeping our eyes out for different options for ways we could work on becoming a little less timid. The night before last, we had played a game at the arcade, but that game wasn't available today, so we decided to end up at the Mandragora karaoke bar, or parlor, whatever you want to call it, and just spend our time there. We were able to get a solo room. You do some singing. We kept singing when the waiter came in and brought us our drink or snack order or whatever we'd had. And so we actually got to sing in front of someone, and apparently we didn't care at all about, how that looked, and that just helped our confidence that little bit more. We're still timid, but we're getting there. It's kind of just nice to have that short-term goal of, I want to see what's in that club, and to that we need more courage. And so let's keep our eyes open for ways we can try to be more courageous. That also, fit in with the play style and the character that I feel like we've established. There are things I could do, like sleeping in class, that I believe it has said will help with our courage, but stuff like that, I'll decide in the moment. I don't want to say I'll never do it, but it wouldn't be my first choice typically for some stuff like that. But from there, we wrapped up our time at the karaoke place and we headed back to the dorm. Since we spent our evening doing that, there wasn't time for Tartarus, so I guess with that we got back to the dorm. We had a nice restful night, and that was going to bring us into today. So since we're all caught up now, I guess let's jump over to the game. We're going to pick up where we left off Saturday night and come on into Sunday. So I'll get it switched over and we'll be right there. Okay, so this was just after we had finished the singing session. Like I say, we gained a little bit of courage, not enough to move us beyond the level of timid, but a step forward. Always good to see. That was how Saturday wrapped up then. Early morning, we're already getting a call. I've got a text message. Not to interject right away, but something that caught my mind here is, I don't know if you're able to hear it since I'm talking over it now, but if you listen, there's those little birds chirping, and it's always just kind of fun to wake up on these spring mornings. I actually woke up the same way in real life this morning, and I could hear birds outside, and it's just that fun little tie to the season we're in. It's like, yeah, I can relate to that. And that was one of those little fun connections to why I'm doing the series as I am and trying to live it alongside the characters. So I'm kind of intentionally trying to watch for those sorts of things, but it's really nice when they stand out to me like that. Anyway, back to the story, though. I've got a text message. Just like real life, sometimes when we've got time off, people will invite us to do things. It won't necessarily be us having to initiate, interactions all the time. Other people are other people and have their own ideas, and I guess they must think well enough of us to say, hey, you wanna go do something? I know you've got some time off. I've got some time off. Maybe we should get together. So this is just one more way we can build social links. And it is also reminding us here that by choosing to spend time, we are indeed spending the time. So it's still a choice and a balancing of our resources that we do need to consider. It's also, kind of nice to see that, once we're invited, it's not like, this is our one and only chance. And if we, don't instantly say yes, we won't be saying yes. But we've got Kenji Tomochika. Hey, you free? Since we've got the day off, hit me up if you want to go somewhere. I'll be free till the afternoon. I didn't really have a specific plan for the day, and it is kind of nice to just, have somebody else reach out to us. And, we don't have to hunt them down, so... Looks like Tomochika wants to hang out. And since we've got Jack Frost with us, we're going to get that much more bonus to our social interaction potentially. Should I take him up on that? I think I will. Like I say, I didn't come into this having a plan since I'm not looking up guides or anything. Yeah, we'll take it in the moment. Yeah, let's do it. Somebody reached out to us. I'll reply. So we have scheduled our time with him today.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, check it out. I finally got Mika's new single. Not only does she have a great voice, but she looks amazing when she's on stage, a connoisseur of the arts. Hey, I think this is the first time I've seen you not wearing a school uniform. Not bad. Not bad at all. But there are some things you could do to look better. I don't think he's coming from a negative place on that suggestion, so I'm not going to say that was rude. I don't really want to just dismiss that either, so he seems to care. Well, let's see what his thoughts are. Like what? What could I do to be better? I want to get better. Seems like he liked that. Oh, you want to know? Well, for starters, let's see. Here, try this. Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, I do always like this attire as well. You're pretty good looking to begin with, so if you work on how you dress, you'll be good to go. Then you can be my wingman. Yes, by improving us, it improves his chances with people too. I guess I have to think of the company I keep and how I look for them. Tomochika seems very excited. I feel like we became a lot closer today. Maybe I'll buy something new to wear. You cool if we head over somewhere? Kind of nice too to have that organic plan of, hey, we checked out the music store and let's talk about what we're wearing. Hey, let's check and see what we can buy. What sort of updates we can get to our attire. Just kind of seems like that nice laid back, casual day off kind of vibe. Nothing super pressing. We don't have to be we have to be here at noon and then we have to be over here at 3:00. And we're just taking it as it comes. Unless somebody has a favorite show to get to. That's come up quite a lot in this playthrough so far already. Nope, doesn't look like it this time. So after shopping with Tomochika, I decided to return to the dorm. So we've already made it to evening. It's been a quicker day so far.
Oh, welcome back.
But there's also kind of that part of it where, we've seen the quicker part of it, but like our times at school or our times out shopping, a lot of that is left to us, the viewer, the player, the watcher, what you want to call it, to fill in those blanks. We can kind of piece together how we think the day with Tomochika went. It's like, we started out looking at music, then we went to check out some stores, maybe we saw some people along the way. Can't say maybe we got a bite to eat and chatted a little bit more, but it wasn't just that we did one thing, and then time fast forwarded. It's, not necessarily something I think about every time I do these, but I am trying to get more conscious of that and just to build the world out that little bit more and fill in some blanks with, maybe my own headcanon for what we did without, changing the overall narrative, but just to broaden things a little bit and infer a bit more connection with the people and the places and the things I interact with. So we did more than just a couple things today. We spent our Sunday hanging out, just enjoying our time. And now we're back at the dorm. Oh, hey, welcome back. Looks like a good group in here. Akihiko's once again at work on his gloves there.
Oh, right.
Let me tell you something. In both boxing and actual combat, speed is key. Whether you're landing an attack or evading one, you won't succeed if you can't move quickly. Our first time shopping with Officer Kurosawa, I kind of reasoned the same thing, and that's why we bought those sandals the very first day when we had limited funds. Just because, that little bit of speed, that evasiveness, that's going to potentially contribute so much to things. Nice to see that reinforced by Akihiko there. As I just stare at, Mitsuru here. I don't like interrupting people when they're in the middle of something, but she's open to talking. She wouldn't have the speech bubble otherwise. It just still feels like that interruption potentially. And the way she starts out with a did I interrupt? I'm sorry. But I just wanted to chat.
That reminds me.
A piece of advice for fighting in Tartarus. To get the upper hand in combat, I suggest attacking shadows from their blind spot. You will have the advantage if you can launch a preemptive strike without being noticed. That has been something we've been trying to do, not only to get that turn on them, but also just to hopefully thin out their numbers or even win the fight before they can attack us. So we'll try to use that technique often. That's another side of that strategic combat that I like. It's like, not only do you plan for the elements and the weaknesses, but you can even further get things in your favor by taking a couple seconds to try to sneak up on the shadow. There's a lot more control. It's, not going to work out every time, but there's more agency than it might necessarily feel like. That works both ways, too. If I can succeed on strategy and planning, then the lack of strategy and planning can also come back to haunt me. And That's just as much my fault as a good strategy. Let's check out, see what's on TV today on this nice Sunday. Aha. On the next episode of Phoenix Ranger Featherman R, Episode 10, Instant Ramen Smorgasbord, Feather Swan. Sounds dramatic and fun. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that feeling, though, of, I remember as a kid, those nice dramatic shows, those fun action things. Then you get to this, news commercial, and that's a totally different vibe. As a kid, I don't care about that. I want to see what, Phoenix, Feather Ranger was up to. On today's news, our first story is about the many young people with only part-time employment. And he turns that off right away. Got Yukari and Junpei out here. Kind of like yesterday, I seem to have caught them at their break/dinner time. Just keep interrupting people and, talking and listening in as we do.
By the way,
Hey, Shima-kun, have you picked up any supplies like medicine and stuff? I picked up some fancy cat food. Does that count? If we encounter any cats in Tartarus, I think we'll be fine. You probably know this, but I'll tell you just in case. Shops aren't open during the dark hour. So you should get whatever we might need before the dark hour. We don't want someone to get injured in Tartarus and not be able to do anything about it, I like how they've kind of, worked in these bits of dialogue here about, not directly being a tutorial of saying, do your shopping today because you can't during the dark hour, but they've made it conversational. And it's like, hey, make sure you plan ahead because this is why we need to. And the reason for it, too. It's not just, do this now. It's like, do this now because you can't do it later, and we might need it later. It's less of a text box and more of just people being people again. Junpei's got another nice-looking, instant dinner here.
By the way,
Apparently, my persona is supposed to be real strong against fire. Call the fire department, because I'm burning with passion, baby. Anyway, you can leave the strong enemies to me. I can take the heat. Yeah, and he's showing his role in the party and how he sees himself and how he wants to be utilized. He wants to fight the strong enemies, and in traditional party composition, he wants to kind of take that tank role, it feels like. Leave him to me. He's got that confidence. He might kind of begrudgingly see me as the leader, but he still wants to have a role and a purpose in the party. And he wants me as the leader to know that and to use him accordingly, which is good for both of us. Haven't done this yet today. Since it's been a quick one, let's drop a save real quick. And while we're doing that, there are no messages to check. But I also do like to kind of just do that usual comparison and see how everybody chose to spend their time before we really commit to anything. Not to copy their answers, or as it were, but just to see the different directions everybody decided to take things. I always like to kind of start looking at, people's Tartarus progress down there. Not a whole lot of people went into Tartarus today, only 9%. But just, seeing everyone's average level and floors explored, we're still a little ahead of that, which is where I hope to, keep it. There could be those times where we do fall behind, and that might inform our choice of, let's catch back up and go to Tartarus. We're all level 11 right now. We've made it to floor 22, so we're basically, barely ahead of people, but still in the good. We also got to that, barrier floor, so we can't actually climb any further. But we could always go back and level up more when we choose to. But yeah, it looks like the remaining percent, 91, did the daily life activities. I don't see me, going to sleep in bed per se. That kind of seems like just, throwing in the towel for the day. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I do kind of feel like I want to be a little more productive with what time we have left on Sunday. So I think, those all look like fairly common activities we've seen around, but let's take a walk. We've been doing that a lot this weekend, but let's head back out again and take a walk. I'm still kind of leaning towards working on courage if we find a good way to do that. Maybe we'll hit up Mandragora again and just, we had fun there yesterday, but we'll see where the night takes us. Wild Duck Burger here. Let's, refresh what could happen here. I think they might have been too busy yesterday, if I remember right. Okay, yeah, there's a mystery burger, which would actually help with our courage. So I might consider that, actually. We haven't been to Wild Duck Burger yet. We may have stopped with a social link, but we ourselves haven't been there after hours yet. Could be kind of fun to try something different there. We've got Wakatsu Kitchen here that we could work on our academics. They've got the omega rich fish that would help our thinking power. Yeah, the Prodigy platter for 680 yen. Like I've been saying, we need everything, so there's really no wrong answer at this point. Hagakure ramen. Oh, Hagakure ramen, that was the place that was too crowded yesterday. It's just as crowded today. The sweet shop is closed, but they still got that cool mascot. Same mascot over on the wall there. Let's see. And we need to be members to order takeout from this place, so we can't do anything there. I guess if I remember it, let's pop in and just confirm that. I don't want to rule out a choice that I might have had for thinking I was wrong. Okay, yeah, it's still too crowded. They could do takeout, but it's only to members. And to become members, we need to pick up a book from the net cafe on the other side of the mall here. I said it the other day, too, when they talked about that. I like it when the local businesses work together like that and kind of look out for each other and have that synergy between them. We don't have a computer yet, so there's really nothing we need to do at the net cafe here. There's no software we can purchase because there's nothing to use it on. I always like these spiral staircases. And in my exploring, I had remembered/rediscovered that we can actually cross the street here and head over to the station side of the mall here. So we haven't been here as many times. I mean, we had the first night here when we arrived, but I think last night was the second time we'd actually even come here. Yeah, there was that construction site that we'd kind of, taken a peek at. One of those other parts of the world that make it seem more like a world. We've just got a lot of various people doing various things that don't need to concern us, apparently. Even just something like, spending our time getting out and walking around like this feels to me like we're still making that choice. Just before I went live on the stream today, it was a beautiful day outside, so I decided to take a half-hour walk around and just take a stroll, get some steps for my day, get some physical activity going before I sit down here for a while. And even if it's not a destination that you're headed to, I think the act of walking is still a fun way of, spending time. So even if we're just wandering here in game right now and kind of seeing things and talking about things, it's still an activity, even though we haven't gotten anywhere yet. Or at least I hope it feels like that. I don't want it to feel like we're wasting time here, and I'm trying to pad out the scenes here, but as I've just been saying, I want this to be a world that we're in, and all the acts are part of it. That's the same reason we walk through school rather than, trying to fast travel very often, because the journey is why we're here. Let's see what they're doing at the arcade today in Game Parade. We've got Punch Boxer, a fierce boxing game to raise the persona's strength. Real Wheel Racer, to raise the persona's agility. And Edgar's House of Fortunes, to raise the persona's magic. Potentially useful if you want to develop a persona and we're not in Tartarus, but since we're not really looking for that right now, we'll walk out of their doors range there, but I don't think we need to do anything at the arcade today. We stopped in the pharmacy yesterday and, took advantage of that sale. Let's double check. Yukari kind of mentioned, hey, did you get any pharmacy stuff? And we didn't really. We got cat food, so. And yeah, the pharmacy owner here looks like a cool guy. Nice to see him, if nothing else. Keep that other part of the world connection going. I mean, we'll be seeing more of him in the future, so we may as well keep interacting with him. We may be a small shop, but we compete with our goods. You'll find things here no one else has. We also have a steady trickle of new inventory, so pop in from time to time and see what's new. And remember, Saturdays are regular sale days. Come out this weekend and support my store, which we did yesterday by buying cat food. We're also working on limited funds here. You can see we're just shy of 15,000 yen, which isn't bad, but when this muscle drink alone costs 1,000.
Anti-aging products are quite a hit, They can make you look 20 years younger, but in your case, lad, you'd look like an infant.
That's one of these other little things. I always seem to focus on the little things in this playthrough, but I like when you're in a shop menu and you're just staring at the shelf, basically. Whoever's in charge, Officer Kurosawa or the pharmacist here, he'll chime in and almost try to make that sale or talk about his products. Again, it's just that, I worked retail for quite a few years. If a customer's just staring at something, you kind of do reach out. You talk to them and say, hey, Can I help you find anything? I see you looking at this. Would you like me to tell you about it? It's those little things that make this...
Spring's already in full swing, ain't it? Seems like there's an awful lot of pollen this year. You doing all right?
I feel like I don't want to interrupt him when he talks here, too. But yeah, as someone who worked retail, you want to work with the customers. And seeing that portrayed in a game like this makes it feel less like a menu and more like we're actually shopping. But it's still all the same goods, still a little out of our price range or immediate need. There is a part of my brain that thinks, a couple of these, status dispelling items wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to consider. But again, we're working with limited resources, so I don't want to overcommit now and wish I had the money later. This, I believe, was an antique store that's not open. Yes, the Mayoido Antiques. That's right, July 18th. So we've got a while to wait until we see what's going on here. That could be a fun one to stop by and remind us every once in a while too. It's like, hey, July 18th, it's getting closer. Part of our journey, like we did yesterday, this doesn't necessarily do anything for us in a game standpoint, but in a world standpoint, let's check in on Igor and Elizabeth again. See how their Sunday's treating them.
Marvelous.
And once again, we actually did develop a few more social links, so Elizabeth's going to comment on that. I can sense that the power growing within you stems from the bonds you have forged and nurtured since. Here, it may not be much, but this is my gift to you. Please accept it. Another Twilight fragment.
I'm looking forward to it.
I still cannot foresee the limits of your potential. I look forward to witnessing you grow even further.
How may I assist you?
So, for the same reason yesterday, our compendium is up to date. Everything's good. There's nothing specific to talk about. We know all of the fun details here. We spent a good bit of time learning the Persona crash course from them.
How may I assist you?
So, just from a visiting standpoint, we're just here to say hi. Check in, see how they're doing. Looks like it's fairly status quo here. But they're helping us out, too. It's like, I want to reciprocate. I think I said the other day, I don't want transactional, kind of social interactions. I want to just be there for them the same way they're here for me. So that's why we're visiting them tonight. So Igor, Elizabeth, it's always great to see you. Hope it's been a fun Sunday. Talk to you next time we do.
We look forward to your next visit.
And that music in the Velvet Room, too. I mean, I don't think I'm in the minority saying that I love the music, and it's... If my only reason there is to listen to the music, it was also a good visit, so... Nice to see that. Same deal, let's check in on Officer Kurosawa.
You made it.
Don't worry, I won't ask you... I won't ask what you want any of this for. I just do what I think is right. Kind of got tied up in my words there because I was thinking, I was just hoping Officer Kurosawa, hasn't had a busy day. So many, professions, you kind of want that, want the day to go quick. You want to get past the work. But, a profession like a police officer, I'm sure that a busy day is the worst day you can have. This is one of the best fields to have a nice quiet day. So I really hope for him it's been a nice quiet day. And we're not here to shop. He actually has sales on Monday that we learned yesterday, so if we do need anything, we'll consider, stopping in tomorrow and seeing what's up. Got the police bulletin board here. Some good information, traffic safety, notices of recent crimes, stuff to keep tabs on, being aware of our surroundings. Let's see. This place is still closed, I believe. Yep, July 22nd, so July's going to be a busy month. We haven't been to the coffee place yet. Well, we visited the Yuko a couple days ago, but we haven't actually come here ourselves. Let's refresh what we can do here. That's right, we can also work part-time here a couple nights a week, I remember. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Oh, and they give us some free coffee. And a little bit of yen. Charm and courage. Okay, I'm glad we kind of asked about that. I don't want to plan, exactly how we're going to spend tomorrow before we get to tomorrow, but tomorrow being Monday, maybe we'll consider that. And this is Club Escapade, which we're still not courageous enough to enter. Can't bring ourselves to enter because we need to be ordinary, or better, and we're still timid. Doesn't look like there's anybody to eavesdrop. I believe we talked to Apathy Syndrome student, and I'm not the best at narrating their lines. But just to make sure, I guess, we haven't talked to him in a couple days, so. Yep, he's as eloquent as ever, Apathy Syndrome student. So, I think we have seen the various businesses and places tonight. I don't think there was anywhere else we can go at this hour that's not closed. Yeah, can't go to the shrine, can't go down to the other station there. I think we talked about going with more courage, and we'd also talked about doing something we hadn't done before, and I think that Wild Duck Burger might check both those boxes tonight. Let's get our save point up to date here. It sure does look busy in there still. Well, it looks like they open, they're a nice full day from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. Wild Duck Burger. Should I spend the night here? Yeah, let's eat at Wild Duck Burger. We'll order the mystery burger. Sounds as dubious as the name implies, but we also tried some, mystery medicine at school with the school pharmacist there, so maybe we're drawn to the mystery of things. Maybe that's part of what draws us to Tartarus and the Dark Hour and all this fun stuff. And it raises our courage, so if nothing else, we have that working for us. And 1,000 yen. So, not, free, but affordable. So let's stroll in and just enjoy a nice, casual Sunday. Yeah, we got to hang out in the afternoon, get a nice meal at Wild Duck Burger here, try a new burger. Along with some soggy duck fries, I devoured the mysterious burger. Just seeing that nice big burger and fries kind of makes my mind be like, oh, yeah, that looks pretty good. I say that now, I'm kind of getting distracted by a couple mascots over my shoulder here. We got this nice blue duck scanning the room here. I like little things like that. I can remember times as a kid going to different restaurants that have those same kinds of mascots and just being enamored by them. I liked the places with the play places and all that as a kid too, but I always responded to those, I don't know, I guess cinematic worlds almost of fast food places back in the day where they had characters and things, and as a kid it was like, wow, I'm at the place that I saw in the commercial or whatever. It's kid logic. I'm not still like that, but I remember fondly feeling that as a kid. Just thought I'd kind of throw that out there now, for whatever that's worth to anybody. Maybe some of you thought the same thing. Maybe I'm not the only one. We devoured our meal. Gained a couple points of courage there. Kind of like how it pulses there too. After she was like, this is what you worked on. It's like it could grow at any time. You can kind of see that ring, pulsing up to the next level maybe. It's like one of these times it's going to. And I mentioned the other day too, I also do like the fact that it doesn't tell you specifically how many more times you need to do this. You can't treat it like a game, and it's more like something that happens organically. You don't instantly become, less timid because you've done something 5 times or whatever. It's just like once you've done something enough, you gain that experience and you grow. And it's going to be the same with all of these, our academics, our charm, our courage. Progress comes one step at a time rather than, at plateaus. Okay. Well, it was a very quick day today by comparison to a lot of them recently. Nothing wrong with that, though. I mean, we kind of came into it knowing that was going to happen. So let's head back to the basement and talk about some stuff. Okay. So, that was Sunday, April 26th. As far as some of our days have gone, it seemed to kind of fly by, but not necessarily as quick as, it could have, I hope. I mean, I don't want to, take up everybody's entire real day watching this here, but I also want to offer enough, content to make it worth everybody's time to tune in. But just like real life, I've said before, we're going to have busier days. We're going to have shorter, quieter days. Today just happened to be one of those shorter, quieter ones. It was nice to still kind of fill in some of the gaps in it. We got a call from Kenji early in the morning asking to hang out. But, so we hung out during the day, and, it really quickly, moved our time forward to evening. But if you try to, look between the lines and you'll go between what was said and kind of interpret a bit, what did Kenji and I get up to during the day? I mean, we don't know for sure, but we have some bullet points. When we went shopping at the music store, we looked at some fashion to try to, update our look a little bit. He wants me to be his wingman going forward here, so we kind of need to, look presentable to the ladies. He commented that, that we look good, but if we work on how we dress, we'll just look that much better. But I'm sure we got up to other things. I mean, we spent the entire afternoon out doing stuff. A couple of high school guys. I'm sure we didn't revolutionize the world. They didn't need to show us anything big, but we got up to some fun stuff. I'm sure, even if it was just leaning up against a wall, talking about the things we wanted to do or the things we saw. Talking about last week at school or grumbling to each other. It's like, man, it's Monday tomorrow already. Why are the weekends so fast? And he reached out to us too. That was kind of one of those fun differences. I mean, so often, so far this playthrough, it's been up to us to say, hey, let's go to the bookstore, or let's ask Yuko out to walk home together. Let's go to track practice. But they kind of flipped it around here, and they reached out to us and said, hey, I've got some time. Do you have some time? Do you want to hang out with me today? Which it's another one of those things that just keeps it feeling like more of a world. We're not just this protagonist that dictates everyone else's life. It feels like they've got a life outside around us as well. And if we said no, they'd be like, well, okay, I've got things I can do. Just the same as if we had reached out to them and they were busy and they said, nope, I've got plans, I can't hang out today. So it just kind of feels like it brings us all on the same level. I'm not some, being that, controls everybody else's future, and they're not just, unapproachable NPCs when they want to be, unapproachable NPCs. They're still people with lives and days, and they're around us and they're with us. They're our social links. I just like that. They're not props, they're people. And hopefully we can keep seeing that from the world and those around us to make it feel that much more lived in. So we hung out with him in the afternoon, did whatever we got up to, and then we headed back to the dorm for the evening. It was kind of fun to check in with everybody there and to see that they're up to things as well. Akihiko was, cleaning his gloves. Mitsuru had a book. Yukari was on her phone. Junpei was eating some pretty good-looking instant ramen. But they all just, they had things they were doing too. They weren't just sitting stoically, waiting to give us a tutorial message. It was casual advice that, was still a tutorial in a sense, but framed in a conversational way that was actionable and didn't feel overly stiff and formal. And we kept just that social vibe of the weekend going and headed back out to take a walk around and revisit the stores again and just be that high school guy with free time in the evening. We've been working on courage. It's, like I said before, nice to have that little bit of focus and direction on that. But at the same time, just like yesterday, we had a third option to work on courage, a wild duck burger tonight. So again, it wasn't just, bouncing between, one or two, repetitive tasks and say, okay, tonight's a video game, tomorrow's karaoke, then back to video games. Here's something else. We got a new meal that we hadn't tried before. And I could also kind of feel that fitting in with a nice, time off weekend vibe. It's like, oh yeah, we had a good day out with friends this afternoon. Nothing was especially calling our attention. So we headed out, we took a walk. I like to think, maybe we walked by Wild Duck Burger a couple times and, you get that smell, of a restaurant that just like entices you in. It's like, man, yeah, that smells good. And so maybe that crossed our head as we were walking around the mall. I mean, we did start there and kind of double back. So maybe that was that seed was planted in our head, oh, I smell a new burger I've not tried before. I don't know what's in that. That smells mysterious. It smells good. And maybe it was like, kind of in the back of his head the rest of the time when we were at the Polonia Mall. It's like, man, I am getting a little hungry. I remember smelling that burger earlier. I don't know what's in it, but I'm curious now. And so I like to think then we kind of like doubled back there. It's like, okay, yeah, I want to try that burger. I've had enough thinking about it. Now I want to try it. And we were able to head in then, had this burger, have some soggy duck fries. Maybe better than they sound. I can also, kind of relate to, certain fast food places, and you get this really good burger, but then you just get these weak fries that they're fries in name, but they don't quite live up to what you're hoping to bite into. But it was nice to just kind of, again, get out and do something different. Eat a good burger, have a good meal after a relaxing day, and just be a normal person again. We don't have to worry about fighting the shadows or climbing the tower or being up in the dark hour. It also, since we're not going to the tower, that, gets us back home, back to the dorm, back in bed early, because we're coming into the week. So there's got to be kind of that thought too of more or less the back to reality, more expectations and structure and, that school-life balance sort of thing, going back to having school as part of it again tomorrow. So that's something else too. It's just, I wanted to spend that free time in a fun way. I don't want him to just always be about, min-maxing work and, collecting money and working on social stats. And I mean, a lot of those things will come naturally, but I want this to be a playthrough that feels like our character's a person and not like he's just a protagonist in a game. He wanted a good meal. We got to give him a good meal. He seemed to enjoy it, and there was benefit to doing it, but more than that, it was fun. Stuff like checking in on Igor and Elizabeth, or saying hi to Officer Kurosawa too. I mean, that doesn't need to happen per se, but I feel like if we do, it's just one more step that keeps the world more of a world and less of a backdrop. So yeah, we made it back to the dorm, we got to bed. We've got another Monday starting up tomorrow morning. We're not going to see that till tomorrow, of course, because we're playing this as Persona a day, one day at a time. But yeah, I guess as I go silent here trying to think of what else we did, I think that kind of covers it, despite it being a short stream thus far. So for the YouTube audience that's watching this on YouTube, obviously, thank you again for being here. I have been Tom Shima. I hope Sunday, April 26th is a fantastic day for you, that you can get up to all the fun things you want to do, that you can relax if you're able to relax, or if you're doing something you have to do, I hope it goes smoothly. Let's all enjoy the end of the weekend as we move into the start of another week. I hope I can see all of you here again tomorrow. I plan to keep this going at the same time I have been, live on Twitch at 12:30, with the archived YouTube video coming later in the same day. So thank you again so much for being here. And I guess enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun with it. I hope to see you tomorrow, and take care. Goodbye. With that, we've reached the end of the day. Please look forward to next time to see where the game goes from here. This journey is being streamed live on my Twitch channel if you'd like to be there in person for the experience. Links and schedule details can be found in the description. I'll keep uploading each day's session to this channel so you can keep watching here. Once again, I'm Tom Shima. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you again as I continue the series, Persona a Day. What will tomorrow bring?